Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche pregame show presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Use code DNVR when you sign up for a new account to get amazing odds boosts. We got the four-man squad in the building today.
Yep.
Shout out to our boy Travis who gave us these absolute beauties right here. Our main man AJ, he's got his own shirt now, as requested by some of you in the chat. He looks so happy about it. So, yeah. So we got dope stuff going on. I'm actually shocked that we actually managed to get something like this, but here we are.
Oh, you got to walk up close.
Oh, jeez. All right. Pretty good, right?
We're not actually selling these, right?
No. These were a custom gift from a viewer. We're not. These are not DNVR shirts officially. Avs take on the Preds today. They've won 5 in a row, but this is a back-to-back for them. On the game note side of things, quite a few people out on both sides of this one. Obviously, Landy's still in COVID protocol, but Forsberg on the Predator side in protocol. The Avs will also be missing Darren Helm with a lower body injury, and Bowen Byram out as well for personal reasons officially.
Can't believe you did Byram last there. I thought you for sure you'd lead off with
Nope.
No.
He goes last because that's when the important stuff happens.
He's the young guy.
Is last. Anyway, both teams not at full strength, but still two good hockey teams so far this year. Let me start by asking you guys this. How for real do you think the Predators are?
That's was going to be the first thing out of my mouth. I mean, anytime you have a team who's got players who have been in the league for a long time and have shown a consistent pattern of who they are, going above and beyond that, I mean, they're all good players. I think AJ was the one who brought it up last time. That like, this is what they've been expecting for the last 7 seasons, and it's just, I don't know. They're getting great goaltending from Saros. Other than that, I just don't believe in this group of skaters.
Do you know where their fan base is at right now? It's like 2-3 years ago, Avalanche fandom, where it's like, why aren't we getting national attention?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah, I don't doubt
look where we're at in the standings. Why aren't we getting national attention right now?
Yeah, I mean, and there's always a reason why, right? Because when you watch that team, you see its players. Everyone knows they're overachieving a bit.
Yeah.
We'll see. We're not even at the halfway point yet of the season. I mean, they're a good team. They have skilled players who are playing well. But I don't know. I definitely think this is overachievement riding a bit of a hot goaltender type situation.
Are they getting depth in scoring from that team?
No, absolutely none.
So they've got one top line.
Yes, we'll talk about them in a second. But it is a weird thing with Nashville, right? Because when you look at their lineup, you feel like they've lost pieces. Certainly on the defensive side, they had to make some trades this year, so they're not by any means on paper as strong as they've been in previous years. But as Jesse was talking about, they've moved on from Rene entirely. It's Saros' net at this point. So,
and that's what makes them good too. Is that goalie that's in net right now is playing spectacular, and that keeps them in games.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and that definitely is propping up. And when you have a good goaltender, it can cover up a lot of mistakes. And I mean, he's not going anywhere, so I don't know. Maybe this team is what their record is with Saros and net. But I think if you remove that factor, if there's an injury or something, I think this team looks a lot different.
Sure.
And is getting quite different results.
Yep. Most teams probably look a lot weaker if their starting goaltender gets hurt, to be fair. But with the Preds, it's a weird conversation this year, right? Because they're a team that historically you've expected them to see a significant amount of their production come through their defense. Roman Josi still doing his thing back there. They still have a solid defense, but as we move into their forward core, they are getting the production out of guys like Johansson, Johansson, sorry. Duchesne. I think Granlund is having a career year as well at this point. Forsberg was playing well for them, obviously not in tonight, but they've been waiting for...
The guy that you've never heard of that's been really good has been Tanner Jeannot.
Yep, he's up to like 24 points or something on the year.
He's actually in the Calder race, and because when you look at it, you're like, oh, Lucas Raymond and Moritz Seider and all these, and then you're like, what the hell is a Tanner Jeannot? And he's in there. He's been really important for them. So that like they're getting production there, right? Like they're getting enough out of their offense, and they're getting elite level goaltending. So they're a tough out. Like they're not a pushover. This is not a one trick pony, kind of like the Jets are, where if you can limit their offense,
you win the game basically. Yeah,
you're good. You know, Roman Josi on the back end is still.
He won the Norris 2 years ago. He's
very,
not that
very
far
good
removed from that. So
their defense isn't what it was, where it was like this, just sort of like this,
juggernaut.
It was like this factory of excellence for a decade. You know, they lose Ryan Suter and Shea Weber, and just sort of,
and it doesn't affect him at all.
It kept on going. You know, like it was just like, oh well, it's still great. So it's. Their identity is a little bit different, but they're more well-rounded, and I think that's why they're having the success that they are. Is we saw that a team just really struggles if you're going to build around your defense. You really have to go all in on it. You have to do like an Islanders, like a Dallas.
Yeah.
You have to go all in on a certain play style and try and win 2-1 every night. And they were not doing that, and now they're a little more well-rounded, so their style sort of naturally matches up a little bit better, trying to play a standard 3-2 type of game.
Yep. I mean, can anyone pinpoint this? Because they've been asking Johansson and more recently Duchesne to do this for years now. So is it just stylistically they've opened
why
things
now?
up? Yeah.
I really don't have an answer. Genuinely, I think if they knew, right?
Yeah.
They would have done it earlier. Because they invested they invested everything in the whole Duchesne Ryan Johansson thing.
Yep. I mean,
in terms of money and
how many centers have they tried to bring through that organization to make
say,
it work?
They've been trying to fill a 1C position with a bunch of guys who are overextended in that role.
Ryan Johansson was a 1C when they got him, and then he just never.
Yeah.
There was never the next level, you know.
Where was he coming from? Columbus.
Yeah,
Yep.
he struggled to repeat.
Wasn't Duchesne coming from Columbus too?
Yeah.
And then like Kyle Turris got to Nashville, and his whole
was
career
awful.
bottomed out.
Yeah.
He's never been the same, and that was after 6 years of excellence in Ottawa.
Yep.
There was no rhyme or reason. And then Duchesne got there and immediately just was like smashed into the wall. And then this year,
He's brought it back.
he's brought it back more to the levels that we've seen Duchesne in most of his career, where he's in the, he's going to be a 70-ish point guy. It's much better for him. So
They bought real high on Johansson.
well, yeah, and he was like 23 at the time.
Yeah,
You know, you go Seth Jones, Ryan Johansson straight up at the time was like everybody's happy.
Yeah.
Because Columbus was happy because Ryan Johansson didn't want to be there.
They bought high, but I guess it ended up turning out to kind of be a wash.
Both ends of it didn't live up to it.
Yeah. But he's coming off a
No one
career
won.
year, and he's never repeated it.
Yeah, and like he never got there again. He never got to that level. He never took that next step. And then, Turris and they go and they get Granlund, and Granlund doesn't, it's a lot of like 1-for-1 type of swaps where they kept like.
For the longest time, there was so much praise for Poyle. And
Well,
now kind of like in retrospect, you look back and it's like, does he suck? Like,
Well, you
is he-
keep in mind he had really limited resources until the Nashville fan base
Yeah,
sort
for
of
sure.
like exploded
Circled around
into
that
sort of
team,
that
yeah.
like
Yeah.
you can rely on them to give you that money. They've created that footprint in the market
but
now.
you could argue that since then.
Oh yeah,
have been his worst moves.
It has been a problem because he went from I have to be measured, I have to make smart choices to I'm trying to win this motherfucker every year. And this we've seen. He has more wins than any GM in NHL history and has no cups to show for it. For a reason. Like you go and look at David Poile at the trade deadline and he's a nightmare.
It's never been a thing. His ace in the hole had always been somehow signing his own dudes to ridiculously good contracts, particularly on the defensive side.
Yeah.
But, the clock kind of ran out on a lot of those deals on him now. And
yeah, I mean, you look at Matthias Ekholm and Ryan Ellis and Roman Josi, all of those guys were signed to, comically team-friendly deals.
Yep.
It was like the Sam Girard deal several times over and even better. So, I mean, it was weird. It was weird.
Well, and he was one of those GMs that was in on everything for a few years, and
Yeah.
everyone always likes when GMs are in on the action. And I just always thought there was a really weird, to your point, that once this push for them really started happening, I just always thought it was weird how there was so much praise for David Poile, and it's like, he's making a lot of these moves and nothing's coming out of him. Yeah, these players are getting here and their career is dying as they arrive.
It was interesting to see for a few years that...
And then the Pecorine thing where he was elite and then he really seemed to drop off and then came back really strong.
Yeah, and goalies, right? And then he got old and you're just like, all right.
And you had no idea
that's what it is.
what you were going to get out of him year over year. It's like, is it going to be Vezina caliber or do we need to make sure we have someone else here who can eat games?
And just to kind of wrap up our point on the Preds forwards, I think probably the one weakness you're looking to exploit for them is their depth scoring. Their depth forward production is not particularly good. For the Avs in particular, that's where you look at players like Newhook on their third line, and you want to see them kind of take advantage.
Abe Kubel.
Yep,
you look at where they're getting, Logan O'Connor. These guys are all on pace for 30-ish point seasons.
Yep.
And then Colorado's fourth line is with no Darren Helm. Maltsev is back in. Hasn't done a whole lot. You'd like to see him get a little bit of ice time. Hopefully it's not 3 minutes. But now you have a fourth line where you're kind of in this McDermott, Maltsev, Jost, did you even trust that line to do anything?
To create anything? No.
I mean, do you
That's not really what they're out
Yeah,
there for.
do you trust
just
them?
trust them to be on the ice to kill time?
Yeah, do you just trust them to kill kill shifts every so often? Because it's obvious that Maltsev has struggled to earn trust. Yeah. And Jost, I thought last night, and he snagged an assist on the game-winning goal. And I thought he actually brought a little bit of energy in a game where the Avs were lacking in it. But it was just still 9 minutes.
The way that line will be used, they'll play predominantly in the first. McDermott, literally, he had, I think, 5 shifts in the first period, 1 in the second period, and that was it. His night was done. And that was the same for Helm, too, but again, he had the injury. Yeah. So I imagine it'll be something similar for McDermott unless the game gets out of hand one way or the other on the scoreboard. And probably not much more for Maltsev. And, Bednar, I think, is comfortable rolling Jost through the other lines.
Look, I think there's an opportunity for Maltsev to get a little bit more time there just because the bar is so low. I think you can find a way to get that guy 6-7 minutes. Maybe not 9-10, but you should be able to find at least...
I think the goal should be 8.
I agree, but I'm trying to be realistic, too.
Well, so no, that's what I'm saying. I'll bet you McDermott gets cut off just short of 4. Maltsev gets another shift or 2.
Do you think tonight, though, on
a
back-to-back and a physical team that likes to play physical
got to ride with it a little
like
bit.
Said, they'll play early. They'll play early.
I think some of this will depend on game situation, too. Because if they're trailing like they have been in all of their last several games,
they're going to run the big dogs.
Right. You cut that off. If you're up by 2, if you're up by 3, they get more ice time. If you're in a tie game, you give them a little bit more of an opportunity. But if you need offense, you're trying to come back. You're trying to do that. You're not gonna see those guys. So game situation is gonna impact a lot of this.
And for me, Maltsev holds a lot of it in his hands on those first few shifts because Jared Bednar likes to roll his lines pretty steadily for the first 15 minutes of the game, assuming no special teams break things up dramatically.
Yeah, he wants to see how everybody's moving.
And if Maltsev gets out there and if he looks the way he has the last few games, expect what we just kind of outlined, anywhere between 5 to 6.5 minutes, 7 minutes. But if he gets out there, he's got energy, he's in on the forecheck, he's strong on pucks, he's winning races. He can earn 9-10 minutes because you're on the second half of a back-to-back. But I think for a guy like that, I mean, they've showed this year, they sent Newhook down, they sent Ranta down. They've showed that high upside skill guys have to come out here and earn their minutes. We're not just going to give them to you, and that's what Newhook has done so well, and he's run with every last second he's been given, and he's playing great hockey. Obviously, I'm not saying Maltsev's on that level, but he'll have a chance in the first period to earn some shifts.
Maltsev should be closer to Newhook's level than the level that he's been at, though.
Well, look at Newhook's first game of the season compared to his first game back from the AHL, and just it's so obvious when the kid is going full motor compared to when he's kind of cruising around. Well, that's what I think they want to see from Maltsev.
Yeah. His engagement has always been his biggest question mark.
Yep.
It's very, very Kamenev in that way.
Well, he hasn't done enough to stand out other than like some glaring mistakes. It's hard to think of like that was a really good Maltsev
if you
moment
take away the Tampa Bay game,
I think
it's way more of an even profile.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying it's like it's not egregious in either way.
The Tampa Bay game was just that bad.
His first game back up where he had one where it was like, oh, or was it the second game back?
I mean,
there was one right after he got recalled where it's like that's the stuff where he needs to clean it up. I can't think of any since, but I would like to have some type of lasting impact thought of Maltsev.
Yeah.
All right. I do want to get to the goaltenders in the Central Division here.
It's a murderer's row, man.
So I think probably if you're looking at body of work of career, you're probably putting Hellebuck at the top.
Yep.
But this year, is it Saros right now?
Yep.
Okay. So Avs going up against the best goalie in the Central Division tonight.
Yeah.
For starters.
Right now, Saros would probably be, if not a Vezina finalist, he would be a top 5 guy.
Yeah, I have no argument against that. You have probably Campbell and maybe like Shesterkin ahead of him, but beyond that,
and then it's a myriad of there's probably 4 or 5 guys.
Freddie Anderson's in there and stuff.
Yeah, you could make cases for guys at that point.
Yep. So Saros 1, Hellebuck 2.
Yes.
Okay. Going down the list,
I would probably go this season. I would go Holtby, and then probably Kuemper,
and then you have,
and then I would probably go Fleury, and then I would go whatever the hell's going on in Minnesota,
and then Binnington.
I forgot about Binnington.
Binnington
put
about Kuemper for me.
Yeah, put Binnington and right in with Kuemper, but above Fleury. Wherever Kuemper and Binnington, I won't argue whichever order.
Sure.
Fuck Jordan Binnington. He's below Kuemper. And then just Arizona as a team at the bottom.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't really matter if your name is Carter Hutton, Scott Wedgwood, or Veggie.
You're just getting buried.
None of those are like their actual goal.
Yeah, these are your Shane Wright goaltenders.
Right.
All right. So, Avs already took down Hellebuck.
Well, I would say, so that's the other thing that...
You had a little Dragon Slayer mentality here with Kuemper.
Yeah.
Well, but, if look back at the Avs' last handful of games. You had Hellebuck, you had Gibson, you had Campbell.
Yep.
They hung 5+ on every last one of those dudes.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you've got tough goalies, but this was kind of my point. I don't remember if that was on a podcast or if that was just us talking. Maybe it was
both.
TDSP. Or we were talking about goaltenders that scare us in the Central. The way this Avs team is playing right now, on one single game night, like you worry about that because a goalie can be hot for a night.
Yeah.
But we were talking in context of like, which one of these goalies do you not want to go up against? The way the Avs are playing, there's not really any goalie in the league right now where I'm like, they can win 4 games out from under this team. Now, I also said last year there's no way the Avs lose 4 of 5
and yet
against Vegas. So
different animal,
different team.
Crazier things have happened, but right now they're showing that it takes more than just a hot goalie to beat them. Since coming out of the Christmas COVID
Even
whatever that is.
Pause,
Yeah.
break, yeah.
even a hot period or two from a team and
It
inside
has-
of a game.
has not been enough.
Grubauer
Yeah.
played very well last night. He
Yeah.
was using his old Avalanche pads. I noticed it this morning,
Yeah.
and it was driving me nuts that it had the Avs blue on there. It was annoying. But he played very well last night. Campbell played out of his mind.
Yeah. And they scored 9 goals in those games.
Yeah.
Right.
They're
And,
monsters.
John Gibson played very well when the Avs played against Anaheim. Connor Hellebuck,
Got smoked.
didn't have a great night. But
Yeah.
I mean, they're playing against guys who, like, it's not the Connor Hellebuck situation every night where it's like, oh, they just beat the hell out of him. Bad night for
Yeah.
him. They're getting, better night. Some of the better nights these guys have in them, and they're still just pressing. You look at that Toronto game, the way the shots looked by the end of it. Last night, they played really poorly for 40 minutes, and the shots still look lopsided at the end.
It didn't matter.
The Avs got a target on their back right now.
The pressure's just suffocating when they really decide to ramp it up.
Yeah.
The back half of these last 2 games show what this team's honestly capable of when they're
at their best.
when they turn it up.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't even think it's at their best, but when they decide, they have for the first time ever. We used to talk about it on old shows. We talk about it for years. Playoff teams and these teams that have gone through it and have been there and all that stuff, whatever cliche you want to use, they have that ability to flip the switch and, okay, it's time to take it to another level.
Yep.
And this is the first time we've seen the Avs
Really
really
be able to
put
act
that
like
on
that.
display
Yeah.
in over, since the early 2000s, where you don't have it, you're not playing your best hockey, but you're good enough to hang around, and then boom, switch flipped, and that was what you saw last night, which Seattle had a great effort, give them credit, but they're just not in the same realm as the Avs.
It's also a bad thing to get into. Like, you can't.
Oh, yeah, well,
You're in the NHL. You don't want to keep spotting teams.
well, and
leads here.
that was why I said that this morning on in our meeting. I prefer the blowout. They play more fun, and it's easier to play from ahead.
From a team standpoint, yeah, I think they probably like the blowouts better too.
From a winning standpoint, yeah.
Yeah, from a we have things to talk about, and for interesting storylines or things that we have to care about. Comebacks are a lot more fun.
Definitely.
I will say that they've trailed, I think, their last 5 games.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then if you go back before the break, the Nashville game,
Yep.
you'd like to see them
Take a lead.
They've
and
given up the first goal every time.
get a lead. Well, they scored first.
Oh, not
last
Last
night,
night.
but then immediately
And then gave up 3 in a row.
Yeah.
You'd like to see them kind of not allow a
Win
team
one wire to
put,
wire here.
Put together
Yep.
multiple in a row unless you have a multiple goal lead yourself.
See,
Just get out in front of a team and just beat them. Like it's
again,
been a
'cause
while.
I was gonna say it feels longer than it has actually been from a game standpoint.
Yeah.
It's
I
only,
mean, you're talking like 6 or 7 games now where
Right.
you're starting to get into because we always talk about things in 10-game segments, and this segment that they're in right now, they're 2-0, but they're all come from behind. You want to see a get out in front, build the lead, shut the door, go home, and you especially want to do it in regulation tonight because if you do that, you're in the division lead.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're in the driver's seat.
Undisputed division lead.
You
at that
you have
point.
4 games in hand on Nashville. You're in the division lead, and you are in the driver's seat the rest of the year.
Yeah. No, for sure. And my whole point is just that I don't have an issue with it. I'm glad to see them because they've struggled coming back in games over recent years. So it's nice to see them string a few together. I completely agree. I would rather play from ahead all the time, but we've seen them shut the door on teams, so we know they are capable of it. I think tonight will be a fun little game.
My
for them.
hopes are not high for this game. To be honest
I think
with you,
I think
but-
it's going to be really interesting. Like this is your classic character test, right?
That's what I mean. Why I think it's going to be fun.
You have a scheduled loss. You're coming off of a harder than expected win over Seattle. You traveled. You have Byram unexpectedly out of the lineup right before the start of the game again. You're mostly healthy here. Missing Byram and missing Landeskog, obviously, like those are important pieces in a game. So you're not gonna, if they do lose, you're not gonna be. Oh god,
Dermott probably slides back on D. I
ending?
just thought
Nah,
about it.
Murray will
Ryan
step
Murray
in.
will.
Yeah.
Oh, duh.
He's still alive. I know.
Yeah.
I too forget about him because
yeah.
when he plays, you just don't ever notice him
Yeah,
do
dude.
anything.
We are short on time here, so we do have to get to Betmaster Blais.
That's right. Oh, and look at this. I don't have to stare at my phone anymore.
Yeah.
We've got a graphic here.
We're gonna,
because I've got
you're gonna
really
get a
bad eyes.
Betmaster Blais T-shirt next.
Yeah,
What the
we
fuck?
should. We should get a Betmaster Blais
I
t-shirt.
can't see it. There we go.
Well, it should be that
Going
image,
with 3
exactly.
bets. I want to get the reaction here that I've got. So I've got a Mac anytime goal at plus 155.
That's pretty good odds for Mac.
Is that Miko?
That's Miko.
Over. Miko over.
3.5 shots.
Miko.
He was real quiet last night, so I was figuring like he's got.
I have him
some-
for first goal scorer.
You've got him on
Yeah.
bounce back.
I got him on bounce back.
Fair enough.
It's hard to keep a good player down, right? And then this one, until they like lower
Yeah,
that,
continues
I'm
to
gonna
be
just
free
take
money.
that.
Yeah.
How can
I think
you not
that's
take
good.
that?
Yeah.
McCarr even money for 1 assist just
Yeah.
feels silly. Like-
Yeah. Especially since it's not, there's no condition on it. It's just an assist.
Yep.
Right.
It's like
Anytime,
Okay,
anyway,
well, enough.
McCarr gets his.
So hold on, can we? Because I just wanted to add
You
on
got
what
30
AJ
seconds.
was saying. Oh, we got like 10 minutes till the game starts.
No, we have like 5 minutes to puck drop.
Oh wait.
Some of us have to go to the bathroom.
just to build
always
up,
Rudo.
build off what AJ was saying. I think this is going to be a really fun game because there's a million reasons for them to lose this game.
Yeah.
They've got the bad taste in their mouth from however many weeks ago that was at this
Yeah.
point. Time is made up. And you want to see how they respond. Again, you saw it a couple nights ago. Big time character win against Toronto. Super emotional win. You had a little bit of a letdown against Seattle to start. Another kind of emotional comeback. And now you're on the second half of back-to-back. You traveled last night.
They were idle. They just hung out.
Right.
They're just waiting
At
for
home. Yeah.
you. Well rested and bored.
And yeah, they're in the division lead. You have a chance to overtake them. This is a weirdly big game for a team that's playing as well as the Avs are, as comfortable as the Avs are in the standings.
Big for Nashville too, because they don't feel like they're getting any respect from anybody. Because
Right.
they've got the games and
that's a big
games
thing,
played
yeah.
advantage.
Yeah.
And so they're just like, oh, well, we're leading in points, but nobody gives a shit about what we've done.
Yep.
And the answer is no, nobody believes in you. Shut
Right, I
up.
was gonna say because you've been this team since you swept Chicago, where it's like, oh, they're gonna be real good, and every year they've fallen flat on their face. So it's like, no, I'm not falling for it again.
I mean, they did win a couple divisions there, but yeah,
Well,
it's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
Let's get out of here.
All right. We do have a hockey game coming up. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us on the pregame show. You know you'll be able to catch us on the postgame show immediately following, so be sure to tune in to that. We hope to see you there. Until then, I hope you all enjoy the game.